Alright, bookworms and constant readers, welcome back to Final Girl Horror. I am Chelsea. Today I got another book review coming at you. It is for Robert McCammon's Swan Song. I'm just going to tell you right away, this is one of the greatest books I've ever read. If you haven't read it, go read it. If all you want to know is my rating on this book, 5 out of 5. Go read it. This is in my top 3 favorite books of all time. Alright, with that out of the way, let's get to the review. As you know, I always start out with the cover. I love great book covers and great titles. I have bought many books that had great covers or a catchy title, and they turned out to be amazing. This one is very creepy. You've got this, orangish sky, fire-looking sky, this, rubble and everything. It's a very cool cover. It does wrap around, but there's so much print you really can't see that it wraps around. The cover's kind of basic, but with the cover and the title, I give it a 3.5 out of 5. It would pique my interest on what it's about, and I would pick it up, I would read the synopsis, and that's what we're going to get to next. I would totally pick up this book based on all that. So, 3.5 out of 5 on the cover. Alright, so let's read the back of this and just see what it says. Facing down an unprecedented malevolent enemy, the U.S. government responds with a nuclear attack. Soon, America is at war, and the America you knew is gone forever. And now every citizen, from the President of the United States to the homeless on the streets of New York City, will fight to stay alive in a wasteland. In a wasteland born of rage and fear, populated by monstrous creatures and marauding armies. Earth's last survivors are drawn into the final battle between good and evil, which will decide the fate of humanity. Sister, who discovers a strange and transforming glass artifact in the destroyed Manhattan streets. Joshua Hutchins, a pro wrestler who takes refuge from the nuclear fallout in a Nebraska gas station, and Swan, a young girl possessing special powers, who travels alongside Josh to a Midwest town where healing and recovery can begin with her extraordinary gifts. But the ancient force behind the world's destruction is screaming the walking wounded for recruits to build the ruthless army, beginning with Swan herself. And that is a really good representation of this book. I'm sorry it was so hard to read. The print is super, super tiny. I don't know if you can see that. Even with my reading glasses, it was hard to read this book because the print is so small. I actually ended up buying the Kindle version of it, and I read over half of this book, and I took my contacts out and I'm reading it like this because the print is so small. So if you have a trouble with small print, I highly recommend the Kindle version. So what is this about? Okay, so this is a truly terrifying situation. The world is about to end because of nuclear fallout, of nuclear war. It's us versus the Russians, and it really follows the MAD doctrine of the UN and NATO, mutual assured destruction, where it's kind of like we learned about it in history and political science, that it's this doctrine that is held by all the nations that hold nuclear powers in check, because the doctrine is basically, if you launch your missiles, we launch ours, and everybody dies. And it always raises the question, well, if that's the case, then why have the nuclear missiles in the first place? Because if you use them, I'm going to use them, and we're all going to die. So why even have them in the first place? But that's a whole other subject. And you really don't find out what is truly going on and what happened until the second part of the book. It starts out and you experience the attack and the nuclear missiles hitting the cities, and you're left with these few survivors that the book follows. You skip around to different survivors to see what they're doing. You have this girl in New York. Her name is Sister, and she was a homeless person. She survived the attack because she was deep in the subway tunnels when it happened. She was trapped down there for a while, and she found her way out. And she found this other survivor, and they kind of stuck together. And she finds this piece of glass out in front of, I think it's Tiffany's, and it's got all these diamonds and rubies and emeralds in the glass, and it's kind of like a crown. It's a ring with all these spikes, and when she grabs a hold of it, it glows and it sparkles, and she sees these visions. The visions she's seeing are of this girl, Swan, who, her and her mother and this pro wrestler, they survived the blast. They were at this gas station when it all happened, and this gas station had a cellar that they went into where the owner of the gas station lived. He actually lived under the gas station, and they got trapped down there as well, and they had to find a way out to the surface. And so Swan keeps seeing visions of this little girl and where they've been, and she's traveling from New York to Kansas to find this girl. Then you skip to Idaho, And you have this military colonel. They are in this mountain that has been carved away and sold as a fallout shelter. And this was long before the attack happened. But because of everything that's going on in the world, at the time of the attack, the shelter is almost at capacity. And there was worries that the construction on this shelter was pretty shoddy because they're having leaks. The ceiling keeps coming down. All of these issues are occurring. And when the attack happens, the shelter can't withstand the blast. Part of the shelter collapses. And so people are trapped inside there. And this military colonel enlists the help of this civilian teenager who he is like borderline psychopath, if not like there. And his name is Roland. And they figure out how to get out of this shelter, and they stick together to survive. So all this is going on, and meanwhile you have this sinister character who knew that this was coming, and you really don't know if this is like the devil or what this thing is, but it's not human. And he first meets up with Sister and tries to kill her and take the ring from her. And she gets away. And you really don't hear about him until later in the book. And everybody is at this point just trying to survive, trying to find a better place. When you get to book 2, you have a time jump of 7 years. And not much has really changed. It's still super cold. The sun hasn't shone in 7 years. It's cloudy. It snows every day. People are struggling to find food and water. People are melting the snow and drinking it, which is making them sick because it's radioactive. And you find out that this evil creature has been looking for Sister now for 7 years. And Sister has never stopped looking for Swan. And then you have the Colonel and Roland. They have amassed this army. It's called the Army of Excellence. And everything starts coming together, leading to the end story, which is eventually about good versus evil, and it's this final showdown because the Army of Excellence finds this other army who's very religious. They take them out, and they learn that they were headed to West Virginia to a mountaintop where supposedly God lives, and he has this key to a box that's going to end the world. This book is over 900 pages, and I'm going to tell you right now, there is no dull moment in this book. This book does not lag, it doesn't slow down, it doesn't get boring. My absolute favorite book, Stephen King's It. I'm wearing the shirt. I will admit, there are parts in it that drag. They're a slog to get through. I kind of question should it even be in the book. Les Miserables is another one of my favorite books. Same way. Stephen King's The Stand, the complete and uncut version, same way. There are parts of the book that you're just like, oh my God, come on. This is not like that. This is amazing from beginning to end. I'm not going to talk about the similarities of this and The Stand. I know they're out there. I'm going to do a separate video on that once I get to Stephen King's The Stand, and then we'll talk about the similarities. People who know that I like The Stand, the abridged version, have recommended this book for years, and I finally read it, and I finally see why they have recommended it. This came out after The Stand, but there are a lot of similarities. Comparing this to The Stand, the complete and uncut version, this is far better. Comparing this to The Stand, the abridged version, it's close. Like, they are both really fucking good. I highly recommend you read this. This is one of those books that I'm like, if you love reading, you have to read it. Just that simple. It is a 5 out of 5 all day long. I can't recommend it enough. One of the best books I have ever read. I'm totally going to read more Robert McCammon and see how his other books stand up to this book. That's all I got for you. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, hit that like button. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell symbol so you know when new videos come out. Till next time, read more books.